Welcome back to Underground Intel. I'm coming to you here from an undisclosed location deep within the sewer to bring you this week's latest gaming news. Let's get into it, boys. This week, Xbox found itself in the middle of yet another hot mess of a controversy, dealing with one of its biggest services outages in recent memory. Thousands of players suddenly couldn't sign in, access parts of their game libraries, and in some cases even launch the games they had already purchased. And at first, it looked like it was just another server outage. But as more details came out, it was clear it wasn't just Xbox Live services going down. The real issue was something much deeper. Apparently, the system responsible for verifying whether a person purchased a game or not experienced a massive failure of its software systems. The outage affected players across multiple generations of consoles, including the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. Players reported being unable to launch their digital purchases, access portions of their libraries, or even sign into Xbox services. Now, outages happen and servers fail. But that's not the real story here. The bigger story is what failed. Initially, people assumed that Xbox Live was just having another bad day, but Microsoft later explained something that was far more interesting. According to Xbox CTO Scott Van Villet, the outage wasn't caused by Xbox Live itself, but instead it was a failure of the company's license entitlement service. In simple terms, it's the system that checks whether your account owns the game you're trying to launch. Now here's where the story gets interesting. The biggest problem wasn't that multiplayer stopped working. It wasn't that cloud saves went offline. It was that the system responsible for verifying ownership went offline. It went dark. And when that happened, many players couldn't access the games they had already purchased. And here's where the story gets crazy. Reports started coming in from players saying that they couldn't even launch the games they physically owned on disk. Microsoft later clarified that physical games aren't supposed to stop working during an outage, and they said that it occurred due to a software issue, not its intended design. They said that the issue occurred because consoles failed to fall back to cached entitlements during the outage. The company says a software update is being planned to make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future, though. Scott Van Villet publicly apologized for the outage, calling the situation unacceptable. Microsoft says they're now reviewing exactly how a single failure was able to disrupt access for so many players. According to the company, it says that one of its goals going forward is to make sure that a single point of failure can't ruin players' evenings again. Personally, I don't think the story is about servers going down. Servers fail, every online platform has outages from time to time. The real story is about what the outage actually exposed. Modern gaming has become incredibly dependent on online licensing systems, even for the games that you already own or that you've paid for. Just a couple weeks ago, in one of our investigations, we were asking the exact same question: who killed game ownership? And in that investigation, one of the biggest concerns we talked about was the growing dependence on digital ecosystems. This week's outage doesn't answer that debate, but it does certainly give validity to the people bringing up concerns over game ownership. Okay, boys, and here's my question for you. Is convenience starting to come at the expense of reliability? And interestingly enough, that wasn't the only story this week that got gamers talking about the subject of physical versus digital game ownership, because one of the men responsible for creating Grand Theft Auto had something to say on the topic. If you've somehow never heard of Dan Houser, he's one of the co-founders of Rockstar Games and one of the key creative minds behind Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. He was speaking with IGN during San Diego Comic-Con when Houser was asked about the growing shift to digital-only games. And this is what he had to say about it.
All right, boys, let's check it out. This guy's kind of a doofus, but honestly, everybody at IGN's kind of a doofus.
So you're working on these games. There's a lot of discussion happening right now about physical media versus digital. Do you have an opinion? Do you want your games to be released on physical media? Do you not care?
I don't know that I care, but if people want that, I think companies should provide it. But I don't know that I personally care.
Sure.
And I also think that the ability to update games, as critical as people are of digital releases, the ability to update and fix problems in games has been really
I agree.
useful for the
That was
quality
one of the
games.
points I was trying to make
So how about you?
in the
Well,
investigation.
I mean, we all have that sort of feeling of, when you get that copy and you put the disc in the console. But I also have to say, I really like being at the airport and going, oh, cool, I can download some quick games
Yep.
to my Steam Deck for this 12-hour
Exactly, or
flight.
continue your
So,
game that you played on the PC.
That's what's been interesting. We've worked in digital together for a lot of years, and then making a physical product of a comic book is a different creative process, but also just really fulfilling to have a physical thing you can say, like, look, we made a thing.
I love physical media.
Oh, yeah.
I think everyone does.
Yeah, that's why I
Something
think
about it feels good.
Yeah,
right?
flicking
that's
through
why I
it.
think there's a
Paper
place for
quality,
both.
I think what's interesting isn't that Dan Houser chose one side or the other on the subject, because he really didn't. Instead, he just acknowledged something that both sides of the debate usually ignore, which is exactly some of the points we touched in our investigations on game ownership and why games release broken. Digital has instant downloads, no swapping discs, cloud saves, instant patches, and remote installing. And physical, you have collections, resale, trading games, preservation, and independence from the storefronts. And that's why his comments this week are so interesting. Just days after Xbox had its major licensing outage, it's reminded players just how dependent gaming is on online services. Personally, I don't think we're ever going back to a world where physical games dominate. Digital is just way too convenient. But Dan Houser's comments and the recent Xbox outages, well, it reminds everyone that physical media still has value. And while I think digital is convenient and it's not going anywhere, I also think that every player shouldn't lose the benefits that physical copies gave to them. Maybe the real future isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about giving players the choice. Okay boys, next up, we got this dumbass story about PlayStation. So Sony just released their earnings report, and they reported a 40% increase in their first quarter operating profit, which was stronger than expected. And the PlayStation business, it remained a major contributor, even though PS5 hardware has declined year over year. But investors, they're still asking some questions. If PS5 hardware sales are declining year over year, then does that mean that the PS5 is slowing down in sales? Are the rising memory chip prices hurting profits? And is the PS5 entering the end of its life cycle? And PlayStation's answer? Well, it's basically, yeah, but GTA 6 is coming, so don't worry, broskies. Like, wow, big shocker, GTA 6 will sell some consoles and some PlayStation Plus or whatever. Like, duh, buddy, maybe you should lay off the crack pipe if you think that's shocking. I mean, what? Okay, and last, we're gonna do a follow-up on last week's story. Xbox has given us a better look at where the company is headed after the restructuring and the layoffs. First, Xbox says its priority is growing both its player base and its business. That means attracting more players across PC, console, cloud gaming, and its broader ecosystem. Second, Xbox plans to invest more heavily in its biggest franchises, the games and series that consistently bring players back. Third, Xbox wants to continue expanding its franchises outside of gaming, into television, film, merchandise, and other forms of entertainment. And finally, Xbox says they want to continue investing in creator-driven platforms and communities, pointing to games like Minecraft that thrive because players continue creating new content. Okay boys, that wraps up the news portion of the show. Now let's get into the funner side, starting with a little bit of GTA Online speculation. Okay boys, we're here on page 77 of the GTA 6 Online speculation forum. Most of these people, they're looks like they're complaining. They want to be able to transfer their character or not pay for PS Plus. This one, okay. I want an option to have mobile homes, double wides and small tiny homes. All right. That kind of looks ghetto and retarded, but okay. I'd love customizable trailers plus heavy duty trucks, and it'd be like a safe home. GTA 6 is going to be more grindy than GTA Online, yeah, probably. Okay, boys, and now it's time for the sewer scroll. And this week, we're gonna check out some Steam reviews. Okay, so this is Lethal Company. I'm sure some of you boys have heard of it. It's a co-op survival game where you go and collect scrap from abandoned moons and you bring it back and you sell it to the company. It's a pretty interesting game. It's kind of like the Backrooms, also like the Mound we played. It's pretty interesting, but we'll go check out some of these reviews here. After losing my job at a dwarf mining company and a submarine deep within Europa, I took up a job here, and so far I have been jettisoned into space for not meeting my quota. My friend was slowly being killed in a room, and all I could do was listen to his horrified screams over the radio. Anyways, we met the quota, 10 out of 10. I was beaten to death with a shovel, and then I was called lazy by my employer. Oh, wow. Quota of 735. Sell all scrap items, including flashlights, shovels, etc. 731 out of 735. Fug. Friend jumps off a ledge to die so we can sell his body. Other friend goes to use a ladder to bring his body to sell. Hands full. Run back to ship to airdrop a shovel. Friend beats me to death and puts my body on the counter. 5 credits. Just another day on the job. 736 out of 735. The average Amazon worker experience. Oh. I joined a lobby. Funny dude and guy with staticky mic say hi to me. They teach me how to play. Guy with bad mic gets split up in the dark. His horrible screams are heard around the hall. His body flies past us. Me and the other dude laugh. Our laughter turns into screams of horror as a big black man with spikes on his body appears. He chases us and snaps my neck. Other guy falls off the metal beam and dies. Are you guys alive? Radio man. No, I don't think they're alive. Okay, boys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Underground Intel. We covered Xbox's massive outage, Dan Houser's comments on physical versus digital game and media. We dove into some GTA 6 speculation, and we checked out this week's sewer scroll. And now it's your turn. Do you still buy physical discs, or is your library primarily digital at this point? For me, I'm gonna be honest, boys. I haven't played a physical game in years. I just enjoy the convenience of being able to play a game on my PC through Steam, and then being able to play that same game on the go and pick it up on my Steam Deck. But you boys let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed today's episode and you'd like to stay up to date on the biggest stories in gaming and GTA 6, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next investigation or the next underground intel. Until next time, stay based, boys.